YouTube, Sam here. Well, I just got done building these walls. I got a couple videos on this wall right here on framing walls. I had some tips and tricks, and I have a few more that I wanted to share with you for how to build walls and things to make it easier, maybe a little bit cheaper, those kind of things. My video got a little bit too long, so I didn't put some of them in. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use some of that footage, throw in a couple new things, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And it'll hopefully save you a couple bucks here and there and give you some ideas of what you need before you start building these. Now, I'm measuring for a board that's going to go approximately across here. Well, I could measure this, but here's the problem with measuring right where you're going to be at here. This could be bowed out a little bit, or this could be bowed out a little bit, or both of them might, and between those you'll end up with a pretty far off measurement. So if you take it, do it up above so you can see here, and where they come together, and you know this is solid and this is solid, you want to take your measurement off of that. And I'm going to bring that out a little bit here. And I'm at 46 and 5/8. So now I know when I put this across here at 46 and 5/8, that's going to square this. I'm getting ready to cut some stuff for the window here. And they're shorter pieces. And if you go to the Home Depot or Lowe's, Home Depot, they have them painted with these orange spots. And what these are is they're basically cracked or not the right size, or even twisted, you know, too much to use for much anything. But out of those you can cut out some pretty good pieces, especially when you're making smaller pieces. So I'm going to go through that and try and find some to put up here. I made a mark here, and I just do this automatically. This is just from years of doing carpentry type work, and a long time ago my brother-in-law told me this, and it's something that a lot of carpenters know about, but you may not if this is your first time doing some home improvement. And it is a good practice to have. You'll see I have a V or a check mark, and right where those two come together, that is my actual mark where I want it. Now when I mark it, I make my first mark here, I go up like that, and I go back and make a slash this way. Well, that slash going this way means that this piece from here over is the piece that I want to cut off. This is the cut off piece over here. So this is the piece I'm keeping over on this side. So that way also, not only do you know that this is the side you want to cut off for your kerf and your blade, but also that right at the tip of that, right there, is where I actually made the mark. Because when you just make one line, as you can see, it's kind of slanted this way. So if I was to start my cut at the top of this line up here, I would be over, you know, a little bit, not a lot. And in construction, that much probably wouldn't matter most of the time. But that just gives you a little extra margin for error to make sure that right where those two lines come together, that is where you want to make sure that your cut
First things you need is obviously lumber. Now, if you go to any home center or any place to get your lumber, you're going to see guys going in, just grabbing armloads full and walking out. Those are carpenters that just don't care what's behind the walls. For your sake, I would suggest going through piece by piece, making sure they're as straight as you can find, and also make sure that any of the cracks, or if there's real big knots or anything like that in there that you're going to have problems with, and being in the middle of your cuts and things like that, figure that out. Make sure you'll be able to cut
this where there's a knot that's actually knocked out of the end of this. Now if you were to throw a nail in there, that's just, you know, not going to make for a very strong joint, and you'll have a big gap there. So what I suggest is, obviously, I know I'm going to cut this off of here because it doesn't need to be this long. So I can cut this off, that becomes a non-issue, and it's still a good straight piece of wood. Cracks on that end, and it's got cracks on that end, but I need a piece 88 and 5/8, so I can take the cracks off of that end, measure it out, and by the time it's all said and done, I'll cut those ones off as well. So I got some really straight, good stuff, best I could find. But if for some reason on one end or the other it was really warped, and I know I need to take off about, you know, right to there, then I want to cut the warped end off. It seems kind of obvious, but a lot of people just grab their wood and just start measuring and cutting. Well, pay attention, take a look at it, you know, give it a good eyeball down there. And I tend to kind of turn it sideways and actually look down the corners. If there's one end that's really warped, cut that end off and it's a good usable piece. And with that wall, I built it and leaned the top up. But with this wall, you'll see that the bottom part's over here, because I'm actually going to take the top and lift it up like this, is because I'm going kind of up into this hole right here. And quite honestly, it's a really old house, and from there to there is almost an inch lower over on this side. So instead of building the whole wall at an angle going down here like that, I put all these the same, and I'm just going to lift it up and up into here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do up there. Alright, here's the other thing. Now, when you put sheetrock up, you need one at the very end of the sheetrock going this way, kind of up against this board right here. I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted this wall, but now that I figured it out, I have it all marked down there. I need to go ahead and put a 2x4 right here so that I can nail the sheetrock in. Now I know there's ways of doing the measurements and figuring all that out for yourself and all that, but honestly, I built this 16 inches on center. I'm just going to throw this extra one here for support, because I wasn't sure. I thought I was going to have to bring this actually out a little bit more because of some stuff that was down on the floor down here, but I was able to fix it to where I can bring it back further. So now I got to throw another one in there. Alright, and in the ability to show my mistakes, this whole wall starts out and we're touching 2x4 there, but by the time we get to the back, it's off that much at the top. See that? And it's pretty level. But to make that level, unfortunately, that's just a little bit off. This whole wall that I'm buttoning it up to here, that has the window in it, the wall that I did the video on, is tweaked that way just a little, and that's what happens. But yet again, like I said, I am not a professional carpenter, so I'm just making do with the knowledge I have, and I don't know why for some reason I didn't figure that out, although I have it touching on the top and on the bottom down here. So that's just, you know, a few things here and there that end up a little bit off. But and in order to adjust that just that little bit, I'd have to redo all this, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to live with it, and when I go to put sheetrock up, I may need to put something in there. I'll deal with that later. But for now, I have that attached at that end. It is level. Now, yet again, this is the wall we're working on here, and as you can see, it'll move a whole lot. But there's nothing to attach it up there. Well, like I said, not a professional. I don't know if this is how professionals will do it, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to take care of that. I just took some of my coal lumber, the junk stuff and cut-offs, whatever you got for scrap. Cut a few that are, say, yay long, whatever you're going to need. And I did that with it. Just put a screw in right there. It's sitting on that top plate right there. Put a screw in from the bottom. Screwed it to there. Put it across. Screwed it to there. Shot a screw up through into the wall. And we're plenty strong enough. It's not going nowhere. It's level, plumb. That wall is actually better than that wall. As far as that's concerned, and that just makes it a little bit easier so that you don't have to build your wall either way over here into this and lose a bunch of your space, or like I was saying, from here to here is a pretty big difference. I can build the wall all one level. With this one here, I wound up, the board actually does go up at a bit of an angle, but it's solid. It's screwed into the joist there, and we're all good to go. The ends off if you had bad ends and things like that, taking the extra time to look at that. Something else, if you look here, there's a big divot in this board right here. Now it's not really too big of a deal, but I went ahead and put that so it's going to be against that wall over there. That way later on when we're doing sheetrock and stuff, we won't end up, you know, screwing right there and pushing the sheetrock in, having a big dent there, or even just trying to put a screw in there and missing it all together and wondering why there's not a 2x4 stud there. That's something just to think. Alright, now it's time to lift this up. You might notice you can't see as well. I had to pull my lights over here behind you. They were kind of, I had a makeshift hanging up here. I'm hoping that doesn't get in the way. Something else you need to look at. Down here there's some screws and things sticking out of the truss across here, so I'm going to have to knock some of those nails and take some of those screws out. Because as you're lifting the wall up, it'll hit, and if anything's sticking down in here, it's just going to keep it from wanting to go. So a little thing you need to think about when you're doing remodel construction where you have previous things that people
want to stick 2x4 pretty much across it. I got it going across this stud and the top plate here. You know, you don't want to jam it in all in one spot. That's why you want to measure in several different spots. I did do that. I did the both sides and in the middle, but honestly the middle is not doing anything. This will move, but these aren't going to move, so this one's just a little lower. Isn't exactly the most professional, probably, a way of doing it, but I do know it works. I've done several walls down here now this way. They're plenty strong, they're plenty sturdy. I've seen other videos where they measure the studs differently, but I don't know if I'm doing it right or not. But when I put up my sheetrock, which I will do a sheetrock video at some point, even though admittedly that is one of my more difficult things I have trouble with. But when I do sheetrock, yep, I said do. Anyway, my sheetrock, it all lines up to where the full 8-foot piece ends up on the middle of both studs. Like I said, don't know if I'm doing it right, but everything seems to work the way I do it, so hopefully it'll work for you as well. They're both sturdy, plenty sturdy. They're not going nowhere. I'm 200 plus pounds, and I can hang off them with no problem. Yet again, not a professional, so I'm sure there'll be several people saying I'm doing everything wrong. But in the end, I'm using, I believe, a little bit less material. It's plenty sturdy enough. It's all going to work out. All this stuff is covered up. It's not structural. It's not holding the house up. So it doesn't need to be any stronger than this. So I think we're all good to go. And like I said, I've done other walls down here now and haven't had any problems with them. Everything works. So this is Sam, jack of all, master of none. You all have a good one.